All right, we are live. So happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Dog Gurus Live. If you can hear us, please go ahead and write in the chat that you're here, everything's working, our technology is going well. That also always helps us. Let's see. Looks like we're waiting for a couple people to join us, but Susan, you're at the beach. How's the weather out there?
The weather is awesome. It's getting to be sunny and clear. So happy day.
Awesome. Rich says hello. All good. So thank you, Rich. We appreciate that. And the other thing that I love to see when people chime in is, where are you from? What is the name of your facility? We always love to say hello to everybody out there. So go ahead and write in the chat. So I'm Shantae Marquez, and I'm joined today with Susan Briggs. And Susan is a co-founder of the Dog Gurus, so it's a very special day because it's not often that she actually joins us for these Facebook Lives, but we have the pleasure of her with us today. And I believe that we're talking about one of her favorite topics, right? Canine body language. So
Absolutely. You're taking me back to my roots, Shantae. So bear with me, as the internet at the beach can sometimes be sketchy, but I'm gonna be here with you regardless. But yeah, I'm excited to be back on social media with you guys live, especially from the beach. It's always good. Definitely talking about kind of how Robin and I got our start working together. For those of you who don't realize that, before the Dog Gurus, Robin and I wrote a book together, and I actually still have copies, Off Leash Dog Play, A Complete Guide to Safety and Fun. We actually wrote this book in 2007. So that does age me. However, we were filling a need in the industry at that time. Dog daycares, we didn't have any resources for training staff. So it's kind of cool to look back, Shantae, close to, we're not that far away from 20 years, which is scary, but how far this industry has come. But I think this is still the foundation that everybody's using to train staff. We've just used tech tools, but body language for dogs doesn't change. It's the same universally. So everything in this book is really what we've built our programs around. And it's all about keeping the play safe and fun. That's been the foundation of everything Robin and I have built, starting with the book up through Knowing Dogs and all of the programs we have now. So I'm excited to go back, and it's like I asked you, did I need to brush up? But I think it's still in the brain. I don't think it'll ever go away.
I'm sure you got it. So I just want to, some people are in the chat. They're saying hello. Let's Tail Waggers, Doggy Daycare in Cincinnati, and Eastgate are logged on. Hello. Rich is from Canine Resorts in Hamilton, New Jersey. Hill Country Pet Ranch, Bourne, Texas. That's close to us. And Alora Doggy Daycare is joining us, and Lisa from Paws and Claws of Morganton, North Carolina. So awesome. Thanks for writing that in the chat. All right. So as Susan was saying, we are the Dog Gurus, and we help pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit. So if you're a startup and you want guidance with facility design or hiring your staff, implementing a safe and solid dog evaluation system, or just being prepared for that first customer to walk through the door, we can help you. We have programs for that. And if you're an existing pet care business, we'll help you operate more efficiently, reduce staff turnover, and increase those profit margins. So, and of course, last but not least, as Susan mentioned earlier, we also offer pet care staff training systems for canine body language and positive reinforcement dog management skills. So thanks for joining us, and we'll go ahead and segue right into the topic of canine body language, because understanding what dogs are trying to tell us is absolutely crucial to providing the best and safest care possible. And we'll just cover a few key aspects because we don't have time to go into everything, but we'll cover some really important stuff. So Susan, where do you want to start? Oh, maybe she might be frozen. Let's see. Oh, there you are.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah. Gotta love the beach. But anyway, we're going to start with the basics. And that was, looking at postures. And so you can do this if you don't have the book or the body language. But focusing on your postures. And what we want the dogs in our care is to be relaxed and happy. So you're looking for a very neutral posture where the dog looks relaxed. They may have an open mouth. There's no stiffness. Ears are kind of in a neutral position, tails in a neutral position. And it would be for how ears and tails are for that dog when they're relaxed and happy. And that's
We'll see if she.
postures and behaviors. We compare body postures and behaviors to a traffic management signal. Most importantly, apply what they learn when they're out in the play groups with the dogs. So if you don't have neutral and relaxed, you may have stiffening, and you can have, for either a more fearful dog, you're going to see them start to crouch. You're going to see ears go back. You're going to see tail go down, which is kind of one end of the continuum. On the other end of the continuum, instead of crouching down and lowering, they may be getting taller and bigger and more forward, which is a little more.
It's more dominant behavior.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we
You're
definitely
freezing in and out where you're coming back in and out.
Yeah, I can kind of see when my internet signal light goes away, so I can kind of wait and come back. So I appreciate everybody's tolerance for my tech.
Yeah, one of the things that I was also going to say about the relaxed body position is, that wiggly, you want to see wiggly body, really fluid body language and body positioning. And that means they're happy. It's pretty neutral. The other thing that we would always notice in our facility is, if the weight is balanced on all 4 feet, that is neutral. And as Susan was just explaining, if there's more weight on the 2 front paws, then that's more of a, inquisitive, maybe more of a dominant, very confident behavior. But if it's more of the weight on the back 2 feet, then they're a little bit more insecure, unsure about themselves. So, that was one thing that I learned from knowing dogs and Pet Guru College is balanced, equal amount of weight on all 4 feet. And that was a really good little tip.
Awesome. You're such a good learner, Shantae.
Yeah. So I know that there, for people who are just getting in the industry or staff that are just getting into the industry, the tail can be quite confusing for people because a lot of people think, oh, if they're wagging the tail, that means that they're happy. And it doesn't always necessarily mean that, right, Susan?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The tail wagging is not always happy. You have to look at how high or low they're holding their tail, how fast the wag is. So I would not read the tail. Yeah.
If they're big, wide swings, different than
versus
rattlesnake, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so we kind of break it down and teach the different parts. We teach tail, ears, facial expressions, but you got to put it all together. And it takes teaching with photos, and then we go to slow motion video, and then we go to regular time, because it's like learning a foreign language, but you have to open your mind to it and learn it slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, when I started to teach canine body language, which was beginning to use Knowing Dogs and Pet Guru College with my staff, some of my staff had been there for a long time and they thought they didn't need it. But actually, once they went through the program, they learned some new things that they weren't aware of. So even if you've been doing this forever or your staff has been with you for quite some time, it's still good to review the canine body language and have them have refreshers, because sometimes you forget.
Yeah, and it gives everybody a common language to talk about these things. We would talk about yellow dogs versus green dogs, and we say your groups should really be made up of 80% green dogs. You should really only have 20% yellow. Otherwise, it's very stressful on all the other dogs and your team members trying to manage. You want to have the right dogs there. And you will have, moments where dogs are yellow. Most of the times they're green. That's all right. But that's where you're wanting to really monitor, how much time are you seeing more yellow postures and behaviors versus green?
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about those like yellow postures, and obviously red. We do not want the red lights in the group. That's like, no.
Right.
But let's talk about the yellow ones. So let's talk a little bit about stress signals.
Yeah. I love stress signals because that's your early warning sign that a dog is starting to be uncomfortable. And that can either be, a dog that's in the group and is more, we like wallflower or shy. You want to monitor how frequently you're seeing stress signals, how many different signals, and how long they last. And the stress signals, these can be very fast. It could be a really quick lip lick. It can be a yawn. It can be moving the head, the eyes. Yeah, the whale eyes. And these can be very quick and multiple. And they may be done and over. Shake off is another one you'll see when a dog may get excited or a little overwhelmed. They shake off and then they're fine. So these stress signals are your early warning signs that a dog is uncomfortable. And that's when you need to stay observant. And again, and if it continues for, a good 15, 20 minutes, I would be taking that dog out of the group, giving them time to reset. You may try again, or you may need to find a different group for that dog to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny, the shake off, which reminds me of Taylor Swift at the moment, but the shake off, that one's funny because, even though my dog is not necessarily stressed around me, but, I love to cuddle my dog, but maybe she doesn't necessarily want to be cuddled. And I like those. I'm like smothering her. And you'll notice with your own dog, probably the next thing that they're going to do is they'll do a little quick shake off. And I think even people do that. I mean, people do. If you get into a stressful situation, sometimes you got to walk out of that room and you're like, oh, let me get rid of that energy.
Exactly. It is the same thing. I believe it is. That's the same emotional state and feeling that dogs have. And if you're an introvert like I am, and I'm in a big group for a long time, it really drains me, which is why we say I'm probably giving off stress signals. So that's something you're watching to see how long they last, and that we don't want to put our dogs through that for an extended period of time, multiple days in a row.
Yeah.
We can find a better activity that matches them that they enjoy. And that's our whole goal. Some dogs are great in group play, but they like smaller groups. That's one of the reasons why enrichment daycare is so popular. Not everybody wants to be out in big social groups. It's kind of like going to cocktail parties every night versus intimate, hang out, happy hour with friends on your, deck. Different dogs and different people enjoy different things. So it's good in your centers to have options. And JJ's agreeing with me.
Yeah. Well, and I was also going to say that, as a dog gets older too, their tolerance changes. So also be aware of that. Just like what Susan was saying, look, maybe in our 20s, we were going out to the bars or going to happy hour a lot, but at this age that I'm in now, which is my late 40s, I really don't have any interest in that much. On the weekends, we'll want to have a cocktail in the back. But, I don't want to be around a crowded bunch of people. I mean, that's very few and far between. And so the dogs also, their tolerance levels change as they get older and they get more mature. So, and I'm just going to go and review some of the stress signals that Susan was talking about. So, panting is an obvious one. Yawning, a lot of yawning, that's a stress signal for the dogs. The whale eyes, which that means they're looking away, but they're kind of looking at you. That's a whale eye. The pacing, the lip licking is really common too. Ears back, tail tucked, shake off. Those are all stress signals that the dogs are going through. Okay. Now let's talk about aggressive potty posture. And that's kind of the scary one. And I think it's real obvious for some, but sometimes it's misinterpreted.
Absolutely, because we tend to say aggressive displays are bad all the time. And that's not the case. Aggressive displays can be appropriate communication. It's what does the other dog do, or the dog that's having an aggressive display do? Because a lot of times what they're trying to do is an aggressive display are yellow signals that have probably not been observed and responded to appropriately either by another dog or a person is usually the reason you get aggressive displays. So first of all, consider it just a part of canine communication that is appropriate and normal. What we want to ensure is that aggressive displays stay appropriate for the situation, which in a pet care center, it's okay for a small snarl or growl if a dog is getting too close or being rude. And what can happen is you can have a young juvenile dog that will, get up and, put their paws on the shoulders of an older adult dog, which is rude behavior. So it's okay for that adult dog to snarl or growl to send the message you're being rude. And what you want to see is the younger dog go, oops, sorry, got a little out of control of myself, but I'll leave you alone. If they don't, things could escalate, which is what you don't want. So, emphasize that it should be normal communication, and at low levels in our pet care centers, it shouldn't be discouraged, because what happens if we discourage those low level growls and snarls, then the dogs go, okay, well, then I'm just going to have the outburst and a fight because you won't let me give my warnings. But, dogs that give a lot of aggressive displays in groups are not appropriate. And again, we need to find another activity for them to participate in.
Yeah. And I think that is a common thing that people tend to do, is just overcorrect those vocal cues, but we want that. We really do. It's really important that they can be able to communicate that way. So some of the aggressive displays of body language also include direct eye contact with another dog. So if they're like staring at them, just like with people. I mean, if somebody's across the room just staring at you, I mean, you get a little uncomfortable. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Other thing is raised hackles, tense body posture. So, that tense really, where they're very stiff, which is opposite than what we were talking about, neutral, that loose, wiggly body. I mean, that means something. And obviously the weight on the front two paws, if they're showing teeth and snarling, that's also pretty obvious. And of course, if they're, very vocal in an aggressive way, that would be a thing. But, it's a lot of these body language with the aggressiveness, I think kind of reflects like people too. If somebody was like stalking me, like really stiffly, I would be pretty.
And Shante, one of the worst fights we had when I had my pet care center, when we went back and looked at our webcam footage, we realized that the dog had been stalking and the staff member did not
see
it. And that's very common. That's why training is so important, and talking about what stalking looks like and what the staff member could have done to intervene. It may have been, giving the one dog a timeout, or just rotating those dogs so they aren't in the play group at the same time. Because stalking, and you may actually be more what I would call the victim dog, giving stress signals than noticing the dog that's actually stalking. So understanding and trying to figure out, okay, this dog doesn't normally show stress signals, what's going on, and being observant of what's going on around that dog.
Yeah, we would notice the stalking quite a bit, especially if there was like a new dog that entered the group. That was really common. So something to be aware of. And then so if they do see this body language communication, what should they do? What is appropriate response to that?
Yeah, I like movement. A lot of times, like if you're seeing a dog that you think may be stalking, I would try to distract that dog. I'd move my body between that dog and the victim dog to see if you can get it to be distracted away from it. If you can't, then I would remove it from group for a timeout. And eventually I might not have them in the same group. For like lower level stress signals, again, movement is good. You being up and walking between the dogs will slow things down, give distance. One of my favorite things I would call a happy walk, which I would carry a slip lead around. And if you have a dog just is kind of maybe annoying the other dogs and it's more than one, putting that dog on a slip lead and having them kind of walk around with you for a little while, again, distracting. It's also why we like the recall cue and practicing that. So you have a good recall with every dog in the group, because if you have a dog that maybe is annoying and they're kind of across the play yard or room and you can recall that dog to you, then you've stopped things from escalating. So it's, kind of having that relationship with the dogs so that you can verbally call them, use your body to body block, walk between them, the splitting. And you'll see dogs do this all the time. German Shepherds are, famous for being the police and splitting and redirecting other dogs when they think play is getting out of hand, or even when play is okay, they just don't like it. So encourage, your counselors to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is leadership activities that you can do inside your play groups to keep them distracted. Like, Susan was using the leash walking. I would do follow the leader. So if I knew that there was like chase kind of going on and I wanted to, okay, let's minimize that when it's getting out of control, I'd start clapping my hands and start walking. And sometimes I would dance or sing or whatever, but the dogs were like, oh, what's going on over there? She looks fun.
That's right.
And they would,
Shantae's more fun.
Yeah. So there is also in our programs of Pet Guru College and Knowing Dogs, we also teach ways to divide your time and with activities in the play groups. So that is just really an excellent thing. I know we've been mentioning it over and over, but really that is the go-to to get your staff trained up and to really level up the quality of care that you provide in your play groups and minimize and reduce any type of incidents. So we can't stress that enough. It really does help just take a lot of the back and forth of training. Pet Guru College is the one thing that will help save you a lot of time and get your staff on consistent training methods. And it's really like a lot of industry knowledge that, you hope everybody comes into your facility with, but they don't always. So instead of you having to cover that industry knowledge, Pet Guru College does it for you so you can focus on actually training the things that you need specific to your facility.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's really not fair to put people in charge of dog safety when they haven't been taught the basics of the body language, what it's communicating, and how they're supposed to intervene to keep play safe. It's our responsibility as pet care owners and operators to provide that training level of knowledge that they need and the skills to be successful in their roles.
Yeah, and I also think the other thing that's good about the Pet Guru College is, if you've been running your business or your managers have been there for a number of years, sometimes they forget about the basic things.
Oh yeah, it's hard to go back to the basics.
Yeah, like having to teach them how to just simply put a leash properly on a dog.
That's right.
We do it all the time and we don't even think about it. It's second nature. But these new people that are coming in, they don't know these things. So you actually have to, take the time to go over these basic principles as well.
Yeah, and even if they've been in other centers, you don't know what their handling policies and philosophies and values are. And so, one thing is we are definitely all positive reinforcement. It's not physical manhandling dogs. You don't need to do that. We believe in verbal cues and using our bodies to block, but not like grabbing dogs. And so it's always good to go back to and what your expectations are on how dogs are handled and managed, and what dogs you feel are appropriate to be in your center and definitely in your place.
Yeah. So I also put the link, if you're interested in learning more about Pet Guru College, I put the link in there. And actually, I just thought of it. If anybody wants a demo, I'm going to go ahead and put a link where you can set an appointment and schedule a demo with yours truly here. So I would love to show you all of the cool stuff. So go ahead and put yourself on my calendar. So we'll wrap it up. I think we covered quite a bit and gave you guys a lot to think about and learn from. And I will also welcome you to join our Facebook group called Grow Your Pet Care Business. That is a great place to make relationships with other business owners, get feedback, ask advice in a very safe space, because we really have only 2 rules, and that's 1, be nice, and no selling. So let me go ahead and put that as well in there in the chat. Does anybody have any questions before we sign off? We'd be more than happy to answer for you.
I know, the time flew by, Shantae.
Well, you make it easy, Susan. So I can lean on you to do a lot of the talking.
Yeah, it was fun. I was happy to be back. And
yeah. All right. Well, I don't see any questions coming in. So we will just see you guys next time. Have a great day.